There's a strange kind of silence that wraps itself around the life of a chosen one. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of distance. Of being unseen in a crowded room. Of having ideas too big to share, feelings too deep to translate, and a calling so loud it drowns out the clamor of the world. Imagine being born with the key to a door no one else believes exists. You rattle it in your pocket, whisper about it in dreams, but every time you try to show it, people laugh, because they've never seen the door. That's the paradox, isn't it? The greater your purpose, the more invisible you become to the average eye. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what we're about to explore may just confirm what you've always felt but never dared to say aloud. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here we speak truths that don't just scratch the surface. They sink down into the marrow of your soul. This journey begins where most others end, on the outskirts of what society considers success. In the shadowy alleys behind fame, fortune, and friendship, where the lonely ones walk barefoot with heavy hearts and bright eyes. And these aren't just any wanderers. These are the ones marked from birth, not by wealth, but by weight. The weight of knowing something more. The chosen ones. To be chosen in the spiritual sense isn't about privilege. It's not a trophy handed out by the divine, like some celestial lottery prize. It's a contract etched into your soul before your first breath. A mission coded into your very being. You didn't volunteer for this consciously, but some deeper part of you agreed to be a lighthouse in a world addicted to shadows. And for that, the world often repays you not with admiration, but with alienation. You see, the matrix of modern life is built on systems designed to reward conformity and punish awakening. Fit in, and you'll be fed. Stand out, and you'll be starved. But the chosen ones can't pretend for long. Their wiring is too different. Their eyes too clear. They smell the illusion in polite conversation, hear the hollow echo in boardroom ambitions, and feel a deep ache in places others numb with pleasure. So they drift. They wrestle with poverty, not always just financial, but existential. A poverty of connection, of belonging, of being understood. They might bounce between jobs not because they're incapable, but because they're incompatible with lies. They might be broke not because they're lazy, but because their value system doesn't align with the price tags of this world. And they might be alone, not because they're unlovable, but because few are ready to love someone who sees so much. The journey of the chosen one is not linear. It spirals, loops, collapses, and resurrects. Often it begins with loss of family, friends, illusions. It continues through deserts of doubt, where even their reflection seems foreign. And in these solitary corridors, something miraculous starts to happen. They begin to hear their soul without interruption. It's in the stillness, the starvation, the solitude, that the codes unlock, the veil lifts, and clarity, sharp and strange, floods in like moonlight through broken stained glass. But why is it designed this way? Why does awakening demand such a toll? Why does a gift come wrapped in suffering? Because true power cannot be inherited, bought, or even taught. It must be forged. And fire, as you know, is not gentle. The chosen ones are broken open not to be destroyed, but to be activated. To remember, to shed the artificial scaffolding of status, and enter the raw, trembling authenticity of their calling. It's easy to mock the monk begging on the street, or the artist painting alone in his garage, or the visionary whose phone never rings. But many of these souls are not lost. They're in incubation. They're not failures. They're in refinement. The universe does not rush mastery. And before a chosen one can lead others out of illusion, they must first learn to survive without its comforts. Loneliness becomes a crucible. Poverty becomes a teacher. And out of these strange companions, the chosen one carves something sacred. A path that is narrow, but lit with meaning. We've been trained to see wealth as validation and companionship as proof of worth. But in the spiritual architecture of reality, neither is necessarily so. The treasure of a chosen one is inner gold, the kind that doesn't rust, the kind that systems can't seize, and when the time is right, the external aligns with the internal. Until then, many wander, many weep, many wait. But they are not forsaken, they are preparing. And as we continue this exploration, we'll look beneath the surface of why these patterns persist, why some of the most spiritually advanced souls are scraping by materially, and why loneliness is not a curse, but a calling. To understand why the chosen ones so often find themselves isolated or impoverished, we must begin by stepping beyond the veil of visible events and into the architecture of spiritual law, an architecture hidden in plain sight, yet governing every heartbeat of this cosmic game. At the heart of this mystery lies a paradox. Those born to awaken the world must first be denied its comforts. It is not punishment but preparation. It is not rejection, but refinement. We live in a world that is, by design, inverted. That which is shallow floats to the top. That which is loud is heard first. That which conforms is rewarded. But chosen ones are depth incarnate. They are quiet disruptors of illusion, not its decorators. They carry an inner light that cannot be monetized, a frequency that unsettles the status quo, and a truth that often sounds like madness to those still asleep. And so, the world resists them, not always through hatred, but through neglect, misunderstanding, and silence. This is the first core principle. Visibility is not alignment. Just because a chosen one goes unseen doesn't mean they are irrelevant. In fact, invisibility is often a kind of spiritual cloaking device, shielding them during their gestation period. Imagine a seed beneath the soil, ignored by the eye but working tirelessly in darkness to crack open. The sun has not rejected it. The world has not failed it. It is simply not yet time. Another crucial pattern emerges here. Disconnection as sacred disassembly. Before a chosen one can remember who they are, they must unlearn who they were taught to be. Family systems, societal norms, and cultural scripts often operate on frequency bands that clash with the chosen one's soul. And so, like an incompatible operating system, these structures start to glitch, creating rifts in relationships, loss of belonging, and a quiet urge to retreat. What may look like failure or dysfunction from the outside is often the soul's rebellion against conditioning. It is not escape, it is exodus. This disconnection leads to a reorientation, a painful but necessary one, because the chosen ones are not here to find comfort in the old world, they are here to build the new. But how can you construct a new temple if you're still worshiping in the ruins of the old one? This is why loneliness arrives like a ghost in the room, not to haunt them, but to clear the space. Without the white noise of approval, the voice of the soul finally becomes audible. Then comes the desert, the drought, the scarcity. And this introduces the next law, poverty as purification. We must be very careful here, for this is not to glorify suffering. No awakened soul seeks poverty as a virtue. But when money is magnetized through false values, through ego, deception, or compliance, it becomes a chain, not a tool. The chosen ones often endure periods of financial lack not because they are incapable of generating wealth, but because their energy refuses to feed the machine. Their soul revolts against selling out, against monetizing their essence in ways that dilute it. And until they discover how to align their purpose with pure, clean abundance, the flow of money remains blocked, not out of malice, but integrity. The modern world is built to reward productivity over presence, imitation over innovation, speed over stillness. Chosen ones, by contrast, operate at an ancient rhythm. They feel time differently. They sense when something is off long before the crowd admits it. They're slow to act not because they're lazy, but because they're listening. And this introduces yet another cosmic irony. Sensitivity as superpower. What looks like fragility is often deep perception. What seems like timidity is sacred discernment. They don't enter just any room, don't follow just any trend, don't trust just any offer, because they are tuned to higher frequencies where deception cannot hide. But this sensitivity has a cost. It isolates, because when you can feel the falsehood in a smile, the emptiness in small talk, and the undercurrent of manipulation in a handshake, you pull back. You shrink your circle. You say no more than you say yes. And with every no to the outer world, you say yes to your inner one. Loneliness, then, is not failure of connection. It is recalibration. The chosen ones are being tuned like instruments, not for background music, but for symphonies that haven't yet been written. Their melody won't harmonize with just anyone, and so the wait feels eternal. But eventually they meet others like them, not many, but enough. Souls who carry similar scars, who also wandered deserts, who also heard whispers in their solitude. And when they find each other, the resonance is unmistakable. There are no introductions, only remembrances. These themes all stem from one grand cosmic truth. The journey of the chosen one is not transactional, it is transformational. And transformation, by its very nature, is not immediate. It is cyclical. It requires deconstruction, fire, silence, and trust in the unseen. The world may call this madness, but in the kingdom of truth, madness often wears the crown. In the next section, we will journey deeper into the symbolic landscapes that illustrate these truths, not just as concepts, but as living stories written in the architecture of myth, nature, and the soul's memory. Let us now descend into the mythic layer of this journey, where metaphors become maps and symbols begin to speak louder than facts. For truth, when encoded in story, slips past the mind's guard and lands directly in the soul. And it is in these timeless allegories that the chosen ones may finally recognize themselves, not as anomalies, but as ancient roles wearing modern flesh. There is a tale told not with words, but with silence. The story of the phoenix. This radiant bird does not die a conventional death. It builds its own funeral pyre and sings into the flames. There is no battle, no enemy, only surrender to the burning. The phoenix chooses annihilation, knowing that from the ashes it will rise anew, wiser, brighter, rarer. And so it is with chosen ones. Their loneliness is the flame. Their brokenness is the ash. Their purpose is the rebirth that follows. But the phoenix isn't just a story. It's a spiritual blueprint. Society tells us that breakdown means failure. The phoenix says breakdown is transformation mid-flight. Many chosen ones lose homes, relationships, identities. But these are not losses. They are offerings. They are sacrifices on the altar of the soul's emergence. You can't carry dead skin into a new dimension. And so, the old self is stripped away, painfully, patiently. Another parable, the caterpillar. The world celebrates the butterfly, but few understand the agony of metamorphosis. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar dissolves completely into genetic soup. Its form disintegrates. It does not upgrade. It disappears. That is what many chosen ones go through during their long nights of despair. They are not figuring things out. They are liquefying. Identities gone. Plans shattered. Dreams unrecognizable. From the outside, it looks like stagnation. But inside the cocoon, evolution is erupting. It takes trust to remain still when everything inside you is dying. But that stillness is sacred. It is gestation. These ancient symbols whisper of something modern minds have forgotten. Growth is often invisible. Destiny does not scream, it whispers. And the divine does not rush. It lets you fall apart until only what's true can remain. Then there is the archetype of the exiled prophet. Think of Moses wandering the desert, of Jesus fasting in solitude, of Buddha leaving his palace. Time and again, the pattern repeats. The chosen ones are called out, not up. They are pulled away from comfort, from praise, from the mainstream current. And what happens in their isolation? They receive visions, downloads, clarity. They meet their true selves, stripped of applause. There is a symbolic law woven through every sacred text and mythic tale. Isolation precedes revelation. And it must. For if the chosen one received the full weight of their calling amidst distraction, it would drown. The message must be planted in solitude, watered by tears, protected from doubt until it sprouts strong enough to speak through the noise. Even Christ was not born in a temple, but in a stable, in obscurity. The divine hides its greatest treasures in the humblest places. In many ancient cultures, the shaman or healer would be chosen not because of privilege, but because of crisis. They were often the ones who had died and returned, who had lost their mind before they found their gift. The community knew, suffering cracks the shell of ego. And only through those cracks can the light of wisdom pour in. Today we medicate those cracks, mock them, or shame them. But in truth, they are signs of initiation. Chosen ones too are initiated, not by ritual, but by rejection. Not by affirmation, but by abandonment. Their very pain is the evidence of their path. And while this may seem unfair, it is sacredly precise. For how can you guide others through darkness unless you've known it yourself? How can you speak truth unless you've been silenced? How can you help the poor unless you've walked in scarcity? The wound is not a hindrance, it's the womb of the gift. And yet, the loneliness, it lingers. Not because the chosen one is unloved, but because they are rare. A golden key does not fit into ordinary locks. Their soul recognizes patterns that others deny. Their words ring bells in hearts still trying to sleep. Their very presence unsettles those invested in illusion. And so, they walk alone. Not as punishment, but as protection. The frequency they carry cannot be diluted by casual company. The universe isolates to preserve the transmission. There is also the symbol of the bridge, silent, strong, stretched between two worlds. Chosen ones are bridges between dimensions, between illusions and truth, between the seen and the unseen. But to be a bridge is to be walked on. It is to hold space while others cross. Sometimes without thanks, sometimes without noticing. Still, the bridge remains, not because it is weak, but because it is woven from the infinite. So if you, too, feel like a phoenix in ashes, a caterpillar without a form, a prophet lost in the wilderness, a bridge weathering the storm, know this: you are not broken. You are becoming. In the next section, we will shift from the symbolic to the practical. how these ancient truths and metaphysical patterns can be lived, breathed, and embodied in modern reality. This is where philosophy meets purpose. It is one thing to know you are a phoenix. It is another to rise. And while symbolism sings to the soul, there comes a moment when the spiritual must marry the material, when wings must stretch in the sky of the everyday. This is the sacred task of the chosen one, not merely to awaken, but to embody the awakening, to step from solitude into service, to move from being misunderstood to becoming medicine. But how? Let's begin with the reality of modern life, a plane of existence that often feels mechanical, cynical, transactional. Here, bills do not wait for alignment. Meals are not paid in metaphors. Rent doesn't care about your frequency. So what becomes of the chosen one when their gifts seem incompatible with commerce, when the very energy that flows through them refuses to be squeezed into a 9-to-5 rhythm? This is the crux of the matter. Their inner truth must be converted into outer structure without distortion. The first step is reclaiming value, not external validation, but intrinsic worth. Many chosen ones undervalue themselves not because they lack talent or skill, but because they were never mirrored correctly. Their magic was either ignored, punished, or misunderstood. So they hide it, dismiss it, shrink it. But the world cannot invest in what you don't own. It cannot recognize what you disown. You must remember, gold remains gold even when buried, and gifts remain sacred even when unpaid. Reclaiming your worth means becoming fluent in the language of both spirit and structure. It means learning how to translate your inner fire into forms the world can engage with, ethically, clearly, and unapologetically. Whether that becomes a healing practice, a piece of art, a business, a community, or a quiet but potent presence in your daily interactions, it must be built. A vision ungrounded will haunt you. Purpose ignored will poison you. Energy without expression will implode. And so, poverty becomes the teacher of integrity. It asks, will you sell out to survive? Will you mute your soul to feel safe? Or will you trust the long road, the winding path that demands both sovereignty and structure? The chosen ones are not meant to be martyrs of lack. They are meant to model abundance rooted in authenticity. But that model must first be forged in fire. The lack is not permanent. It is a sculptor's chisel, shaping intention into clarity. As for loneliness, let it become your compass, not your cage. In this world of mass connection and shallow bonds, the chosen ones are invited into sacred discernment. Not everyone gets access to your frequency. You are not here to be popular. You are here to be precise. You don't need a crowd, you need resonance. One true connection can be more nourishing than 1,000 hollow interactions. So, open, but filter. Trust, but test. And know that your solitude is not empty. It is echoing with purpose. The universe often delays connection not to hurt you, but to prepare you for it. The deeper your roots of self-understanding, the stronger your relationships will grow, not as dependency, but as mirrors of power. Practical integration also means navigating systems with awareness, not as slaves, but as alchemists. The matrix exists, yes. It is built on fear, urgency, manipulation. But it is not invincible. It is programmable. You are not here to blindly rebel against it nor to obey it. You are here to transcend it by mastering your vibration, aligning your actions, and choosing your expressions with surgical precision. Start where you are, with what you know. The chosen ones often wait for perfect alignment, perfect timing, perfect clarity. But sometimes, clarity comes after motion. Sometimes purpose reveals itself in the doing. And yes, you may stumble. You may outgrow 10 paths before one fits. But do not mistake movement for failure. Every step shapes your resonance. Every no clears space for the yes that matters. One of the most practical revolutions a chosen one can enact is protecting their energy. This is not New Age fluff. It is survival. It is sustainability. Your mind is a sacred engine. Your emotions, tuning forks of truth. Your time, a non-renewable resource. Begin treating your life like holy ground, because it is. This may mean saying no to jobs, people, conversations that dilute your essence. It may mean choosing rest over hustle, silence over noise, depth over attention. And it may mean rewriting your relationship with money itself. Many chosen ones carry karmic codes of guilt, scarcity, or martyrdom. But spiritual truth and material wealth are not opposites. They are polarities seeking harmony. Money is energy, neutral until programmed. Let yours be programmed by service, not shame. By alignment, not anxiety. You were never meant to worship money, but you were never meant to reject it either. You are here to steward it, with clarity, with sovereignty, with grace. Lastly, understand that real-world success for a chosen one does not always look like fame, luxury, or visibility. Sometimes it looks like peace, like alignment, like waking up every day knowing who you are, why you're here, and how to move in integrity. That too is wealth. That too is power. This is the integration. This is the alchemy. The sacred is not just in the stars, it's in your schedule, your relationships, your breath. The real work of the chosen one is to live as a bridge, rooted in the unseen, walking in the seen, and weaving heaven into the everyday. And so we come to the threshold, not an end, but a turning point. If you've walked with me this far, it means something within you recognizes the deeper current flowing beneath your life's outer surface. You've felt the loneliness, not as punishment, but as echo. You've known the poverty, not just of money, but of meaning. You've watched yourself be sidelined, silenced, or unseen and wondered if something was wrong with you, when in truth, something sacred was waking up within you. Let us remember, being chosen was never meant to inflate the ego. It was meant to strip it bare. It was never a title, but a task. A contract signed in the womb of stars, inked not in ink, but in light. You didn't choose this path by whim. It was woven into you, into your breath, your tears, your timing. That's why nothing else ever really fit. That's why pretending didn't last. That's why you've always been haunted by a sense of something more. Yes, the chosen ones are often alone, not because they are unworthy of love, but because their love is a tuning fork that repels the false. Yes, they are often broke, not because they are incapable, but because their energy refuses to sell itself into slavery. And yes, they are often misunderstood, not because their truth is invalid, but because it is ahead of its time. But the time is catching up. There is a quiet rising happening in the world. Can you feel it? Souls like yours beginning to find their voice. Communities forming in the unseen web of spirit. Purpose glowing in the ashes of what's been lost. The long night is not ending for everyone, but it is ending for those ready to rise. And your rising won't look like others. It won't be mass-produced, algorithm-approved, or template-wrapped. It will be personal, soul-deep, irrevocable. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to remember yourself so completely that your presence becomes an antidote, that your alignment becomes instruction, that your peace becomes revolution. And you don't need to wait for the world to notice you. You need to notice you. That is where the shift begins. Forgive the loneliness. It made space for your truth. Forgive the scarcity. It protected your essence. Forgive the delays. They preserved your timing. Forgive the world for not seeing you. You were not sent to be seen. You were sent to see. Now rise, not with arrogance, but with remembering. Not with haste, but with clarity. Begin where you are, tired, unsure, or trembling. That is holy ground. Your gifts don't require perfection, only presence. The world doesn't need another influencer, it needs more aligned ones. People who know who they are, why they came, and what they refuse to compromise. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not cursed. You are chosen. And this moment is your return. Return to your body as temple. Return to your voice as weapon. Return to your truth as compass. The path may still be narrow, but your shoulders have grown. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to reveal what's missing. You were never meant to settle. You were meant to stir. And now the call is no longer distant. It is echoing through your cells. Walk forward, not to prove, but to express. Not to convince, but to become. Create what you wished existed. Speak what you needed to hear. Become the mirror that others haven't found yet. That is the real wealth. That is the real reward. And when you feel alone again, as you will, from time to time, remember this. The stars look like they're scattered in isolation, but they are constellations. You are not wandering, you are aligning. And someone, somewhere, is walking their own dark path by the light that leaks from your wounds. Don't dim now. This world is hungry for exactly what you are. The chosen ones are not here to be saved. They are here to wake up and become the saving. They are not here to escape the world. They are here to transfigure it. So step through the veil. Speak with the voice you once silenced. Take the risk that feels too wild to name. You were not sent here to play small. You were sent here to remind the world of something it forgot long ago. And that reminder is you.